Hi, everybody. I'm just going to give a second to everyone as they're coming in. Welcome. My name is Tabitha Kucera, and I'm here to talk to you guys about the cat essentials, everything you need to know before bringing or another, because we all have more than one, another cat home. So I'm going to be talking about what we can do to help set our cats up for success as they transition into our new home, along with some brief, because these are in-depth topics, but some brief tips and tricks to help introduce your cat to your children, your dog, or other cats in the home. I will be hanging out afterwards to answer all of your amazing questions, because I'm sure you may have some questions specific to your situation and maybe specific to your individual cat, because as we all know, every cat is an individual, and that's why we love them. So please don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat. They will be monitoring, and if there is a lot of the same question, they'll be sure to get it to me at the end. Or again, I'll be sticking around after to answer all your amazing questions. So let's get started. First things first, this photo makes me happy. I'm sure it makes you happy too. Congratulations on your new kitty feet, your new cat that you are either planning on getting or already have gotten. And starting off your relationship with your cat is a fun, exciting adventure, but we love a preparation. It never hurts to be prepared. So ideally, in a perfect world, we will be sharing, or we will be preparing our house prior to the cat coming in. I understand that that's not always the case, but I'm going to talk a little bit about how to prepare the home before the cat comes. The first day or two, the cat is in your home, and then overall helping them adjust to their new home. I love this photo. So first things first, what does your cat need? And many of you are probably familiar with these things, but prior to bringing the new cat in, I like to get food and water bowls. Cats prefer to have their food and water separated. So I like individual bowls for each versus those double ones, because again, cats are prey and predator animals. So they prefer, from a prey animal standpoint, for their resources, including their water and food, to be a little separated and not all in the same place. A comfortable bed, more than one. Of course, you'll have fleece blankets, because cats love fleece, and you'll have blankets throughout your house, but getting a cat specific bed is ideal. An uncovered litter box. I say that because most cats prefer uncovered litter boxes, and we like to focus on what most cats prefer. Access to high spots. So this can be a cat tree, a cat shelf, a dresser that you took all your knickknacks off of and threw a yoga mat or a bath mat on. Lots of ideas for vertical spaces, high spaces. Scratching posts. We all know cats need to scratch, and cats scratch for a lot of reasons, including to relieve stress. So in a new environment, even though you're an awesome caregiver, it's stressful. So giving them those appropriate outlets to not only be a cat, but to relieve stress in a healthy way is helpful. A brush, toys, a variety of toys, because variety is the key to life. I have tons of different toys, and your cat should too. Treats, and then of course, a cat carrier if you don't already have one. It is great to go to the shelter or the breeder or wherever you may be getting your cat from a friend, because let's be honest, they come from everywhere, that you already have a comfortable cat carrier with a fleece blanket or a soft carrier versus those cardboard boxes, which are great in a pickle, but not as comfortable as a cat carrier that you purchased may be. So again, you're going to purchase all this stuff prior to the cat coming in. You're going to set up that safe haven. So a room in your home away, because some of you may have pets, some of you may not have other pets. So this room needs to be away from your other pets, and it's going to be set up with everything your cat needs. So this is an example for a kitten or also a senior cat, because for seniors, it's a little more difficult for them to do those high jumps. So some of these resources are lower to the ground which is also helpful for a kitten, so they can make those easier jumps, which is great. So you want to have everything set up in that room. You want to do what you can to create a calm and comfortable environment. So a few things are, besides, of course, having everything in their room already, maybe using a pheromone or plugging in a feel away diffuser a few days prior, so that scent is already kind of going throughout that room, which is the scent that cats release when they're rubbing their cheek on things. Cats communicate with pheromones and scent. So that's a little thing that we can do that can make a big difference in their comfort level. Also playing classical music, or in some cases white noise, but classical music can be really helpful, especially some cats are going to be more outgoing and comfortable immediately versus others. And if a cat is fearful or stressed, all stimuli is more intense, right, guys? So when you're scared, someone coughing is intense. So this is true for our feline friends too. So sometimes playing classical music can help dampen some of those stressful sounds. For example, if you have a dog, right, and dogs bark, that's normal. Or if you have kids, kids scream. That's what they're supposed to do. But as that cat is adjusting into that new home, dampening some of those sounds may be helpful. So again, feel away, having all the things needed ahead of time. Also, classical music, having treats throughout the room that they can explore and play with. And obviously, they're also getting reinforced for exploring, which is awesome. So those are some little things we can do to help set up that comfortable room. It's also helpful to cat proof. I know this sounds like a given, but as a vet tech, I've seen some things. So cats, especially when they're fearful, can fit into really small spaces. So I always tell clients, if your safe room has a closet, just open it up, especially if the cat's fearful. But hiding places are also a crucial part to what they need, which can be a cat carrier, a box, lots of different things. But a lot of cats like to hide as a natural coping mechanism to deal with stress. So many cats will try to get into the closet. So, hey, if you have a closet in your safe room, let's just cat proof that, make sure things won't fall on your cat's head, clear it out a little bit, and just make a resting spot for your cat in that closet, for example. Another way to cat proof is take all those lovely knickknacks off the dressers, because as they're exploring, they may accidentally knock them down, which can cause fear. And then they could maybe even associate the dresser or even the room with how that fear they felt when that thing fell, because that's scary. Also, we don't want the cat breaking your things by accident. Other things to consider are plants, making sure that they're non-toxic plants. I love the idea of getting some cat grass and placing it in there prior. Again, that's a lovely way to encourage that cat to explore and chew, because some cats can chew when they're stressed as well. So providing an appropriate chew outlet, again, a very helpful thing to do. So you set up your safe haven and you prepared, because you're amazing. Props to all of you who are preparing. Prevention is key. And your cat is now coming home. What are we going to do? So again, every cat may react to this differently, but these are the steps that I like to start with. Placing the carrier in the room next to one of the hiding spaces. So again, you'll probably have various hiding spaces, whether it's a box, a cat condo, the closet, but ideally you should not place it directly, but place it near, so that cat, if they are fearful, they can easily get to a hiding spot and feel safer immediately. Can be really helpful. So you're going to open the carrier, and ideally you're going to be on the side of the carrier, because we call that considered approach. It's less scary than if you're looming over the carrier. That's really scary. And then also, let's say the cat is here and you're like very scary as well. So instead, we're going to place the carrier on the ground, open the door, and just casually sit. We're not going to reach for the cat. We're not going to scream or say, I love you, because again, I love my humans. I know that's how we greet each other, but that can be really threatening to a cat. And even if they aren't as stressed and can handle changes well, a new environment is really scary, and you want to start on a good paw, right? So open the carrier, allow them come out and explore on their own. They may not want to come out, and that's okay. If they choose not to come out, you can sit there for a moment, but usually I like to tell clients, if the cat doesn't choose to come out, I would step away and close the door and then maybe play some classical music. And again, maybe do a few extra steps to create a comfortable environment and give that cat some time to just adjust and check out the room. We're not going to shake the cat out of the carrier. We're not going to make the cat come out of the carrier. It is all about choice, right? If someone threw me in a new country, even though I'm extroverted, without a cell phone, I'm socialized, but I would immediately be scared. And then someone was like, go here, I would get more scared, right? Or someone picked me up. Oh gosh, I can't imagine. I would probably react with aggressive behavior. So it's really important to allow your cat adjust to their needs. If they want to hide, let them hide. If they want to explore, we want to let them explore. This is not the time to introduce them to other animals or visitors. I love people's excitement when they get a new cat. And some people are like, I want to have a party, which because I love my cat and I'm so excited and I want everyone to meet my cat. That's a little too much too soon. So what we're going to do is allow that cat to just adjust to that new environment, and later on we can have visitors. And also when it comes to introducing that cat to even your kids in some cases, but to your dog or other cats, we are not going to do that on the first or even the second day. We're going to give them some time to adjust to that bedroom or room, wherever you happen to put them. You're going to interact with the cat on their own terms. So you can kind of see this little infographic that I have about how to greet a cat. And this is how I greet every cat, whether it's a familiar cat, like one of my cats, or a stranger cat, one of my clients' cats that I might be meeting for the first time. I'm going to assess the cat's body language. Again, if that cat's ears are back, their eyes are wide and dilated, and they're shifting their weight in the carrier away from me, I'm going to get up and increase my distance because I'm a trigger. It's not personal. They are overwhelmed. I'm going to give them space. Let's say that cat chooses to come out. Ears are forward, tail is up and curved, which is a fairly relaxed, happy greeting kind of body language from a kitty. Let's say I'm going to extend my finger. So I'm not going to, let's say the cat is over here. I know a lot of people like to reach. I'm not a fan of reaching because, again, that can be scary too. So I'll just hold my hand like this or like this. And if the cat chooses to smell me, which they most likely will, they may smell my finger or my fist, and I'm just going to remain still and not loom over them or pet them or pick them up. If they lean in, we all know that lean in with their cheek or sometimes even their whole body, that's them giving me consent to pet them. So I might, again, it's the first time interacting with this cat, I'm going to pet them maybe once or twice on their head, neck, and shoulders, because that's where most cats are comfortable being petted. So I'm going to start with what most cats are comfortable with because I want to have a good first impression with this cat. And then I take my hand away. If that cat leans in again, that's them giving you consent to pet them again. If they just smell your finger and walk away, cool, no disrespect. You didn't give me consent to pet you, so I'm not gonna pet you. I hear a lot of people say cats like to be touched on their own terms and say it like a negative thing. Hey guys, I like to be touched on my own terms, and I hope you do too. So I don't hear that about dogs as much because people already respect that, but I hear that a lot about cats, and we really should be assessing and respecting their body language as well. Let the cat initiate, choose, and control the type of contact. So that's where we're getting consent. And that cat might lean in and then start leaning in their whole body, right? They may even crawl into your lap and then lean into you, asking for you to pick them up. But let's be honest, that is not very common. So when the cat ends the interaction, let's say they lean in, you pet them once or twice, then they disengage or walk away. You do not follow them. You allow them to explore. So that's considered approach with every kitty, but especially very important the first time you're meeting your cat in the new environment. So adjusting to the new home. Again, I'm going to say it again. cats are individuals, and periods of transition can last a few days to a few weeks to a few months, right? Adult cats often need more time to adapt than kittens, since they've likely been in other homes and changes are more difficult for them. You may notice some signs of stress. For senior cats, this is important to address as well. They may have even more difficulty adjusting to a new home, because one of the things that happens as cats age, similar to humans, change is harder to deal with, and it actually causes more stress as they age. So those are just considerations, whether you have a senior cat or an adult cat or a kitten. Ideally, that kitten hasn't had a lot of negative situations, and maybe they're even in their key socialization period, that 2 to 7 weeks, which we extend a little bit to 12 weeks. And in that period, they're exploring, they might startle, but they recover easily, they're learning. So as long as we're being positive, pairing the new environment with good things and respecting their body language, it's going to be a lot easier for them to adjust. So those are just things to consider. You want to begin a relationship with your vet. I think this is crucial, because let's say there's some changes in the cat's health, because again, new environment, stress can cause medical issues or exacerbate medical issues. So you may notice that you just brought the new cat in, you're doing an amazing job at helping them transition, but they haven't eaten for a day, which is a very big concern, right? That's something we want to contact a vet about immediately. Or maybe you've noticed that their stools are really loose and it's the second or third day and you're still noticing that. Some changes can happen due to stress, but those are still changes that we need to have addressed by the vet. We can't, for example, if I was vomiting and someone was just like, it's stress, I should still get that worked up so I can get more, maybe an antiemetic and feel somewhat better, right? So when it comes to your cat adjusting, watch for changes in their health. You may note some signs of stress, like I mentioned, from a physical standpoint, but you also may know they might miss the litter box. They might not go in the litter box. They might just hide for a few days. Again, we want to allow them to hide. We don't want to block their hiding places. Sometimes I hear that, and that is not great. You want to give that cat opportunities to be comfortable and secure. And if you take their hiding spots away, whoa, is that fear and discomfort going to escalate? So I think it's really important to have a relationship with your vet prior, because you may have other cats and already have a relationship with a vet, but this may be your first cat and it can take time to get into a vet. So having a relationship with a vet already and them understanding what's going on, it's just helpful and easier for everybody, including the cat involved. We're going to continue to help them adjust to their new home by creating, again, that calm environment. A big part of that is structure and routine. When things are predictable and structured for humans, we do better. This is true for our feline friends as well. So we're going to feed them around the same times. If they are comfortable with play, you're going to do a wand play session around the same time every day. You're going to provide some structure and stability besides just feeding, right? Because most people create that structure. I want us to create even more of a structure. I go in and play with the kitten or cat or between 8 and 9 every night. I give him an enrichment toy before I go to bed between midnight and 2 a.m., like a puzzle feeder, for example. So again, some structure and stability is going to help that cat transition into that new home so much easier. Also, when it comes to introducing them to new rooms, so we're not taking other animals into account yet, but it's really important not to just open the door. So usually I have my clients, as you open, let's say the cat is ready based on their body language, which might be 7 days, it might be a month. Again, it's all about assessing the individual animal, and they are wanting to explore and check out the rest of the house. I'm not going to just say, go check out the whole house, because that's still a lot of stimuli without animals, right? So I like to have my clients start by, okay, maybe let's just close a few bathroom doors, bedroom doors, basement door. So the cat can still explore a large area, but it's a little limited, and leave that door open. Again, it's all about choice. That cat might peek out And you can have treats and toys and things to create positive associations. That's definitely going to help. But that cat might peek out, check out the hallway, and then go back into the safe space. And that's okay. We want them to explore on their own accord. I sometimes see people, again, just open the door and the cat ends up kind of exploring, but then gets really fearful. And now they're in the basement ceiling or something like that. So it's really important to slowly introduce them to new rooms and provide positive and consistent human interactions as well. So a big part of that is that considerate approach I mentioned, interacting with that cat in a way that they enjoy. And then also, along with feeding them around the same time every day, especially for fearful cats, I love a technique called picnicking, in which you get a really high value treat, like good stuff, guys, like anchovies or a tiny little dollop of churro or whipped cream, obviously in moderation. You're gonna give that to them using considerate approach in the room every day at the same time. And it's a considerate, or it's a consistent and predictable human interaction. You come in, you're not looming or screaming or talking to the cat. You give them a treat and then you leave. It is just a positive, predictable, consistent human interaction. Small thing that can make a huge difference. Also, when it comes to helping them adjust to their new home, again, some of you may have cats already. Some of you this may be your first kitty in your home right now. So these are some general guidelines that need to be followed for all cats. We want to provide those positive and consistent human interactions, provide multiple and separate key resources. And what I mean by that, I mentioned that cats don't like all their resources in one space, but if you have multiple cats, or if you have a cat and a dog, I'm not going to feed them in the same area. And I'm going to have multiple waters throughout my house to provide my animals with choices, right? So that's what I mean by, if I have 3 cats, I'm going to have 4 litter boxes spread throughout the house. So there's choices and they don't have to feel conflicted or unsure. I have to walk past this cat I'm conflicted with to just use the bathroom, because that can cause a lot of stress and can cause your cat to not use the box as well. We want to provide playtime and predatory behavior. So puzzle toys, interactive cat toys, wand toy sessions, again, giving them opportunities to play, kill, do their predatory behaviors that they need to do. Respect for the cat's sense of smell. So I mentioned the feel away. If we're going to leave, I know this is more for shelters, but if they have bedding in their room, that in their safe room, we're going to keep it in there unless they, of course, if they have an accident or it's dirty in some way with something else, we're going to remove it. But ideally, we want to keep that scent because it's familiar for them and it's going to, again, help them transition, and then provide safe places. So this is a lovely little infographic that was inspired by Purr, the Science of Making Your Cat Happy, which is a wonderful book by Zazie Todd that I love. But you can kind of see safe spaces in every room, like we talked about, hiding spaces, high spaces, multiple separated resources. So I'm going to feed my cat separately. Even though you may think your cat enjoys eating with the other cat, they are not big fans of that. And that can actually cause tension. So each of them have their own feeding area. We're going to make sure we have a lot of water, litter boxes, resting spots. Again, we're not going to use punishment for training purposes, because that can definitely, as you can imagine, that is not a positive human interaction. We're going to use reward-based training. And then again, that familiar sense by giving them, using the feel away, giving them scratchers, because they also have pheromones in their little claws that they spread their scent on. So considering all of that in the home setting. So here are just a few examples of safe places, increasing territory and resources. So for example, all 3 of my cats decided to be on this for this photo, and you can actually see it back here. So I have a hallway that's very narrow, and based on my education, I know even for humans, hallways are areas of tension. So although my cats get along, I get along with my partner, but if we're both in the hallway, it's like there's not enough room for us, and that can cause tension. So I purposely, strategically place this here So they have outlets to kind of increase the space in the small space I have. Obviously, when I'm doing a webinar, the door is closed, but also there's scratchers on there because, again, in times of tension, areas of tension, a cat will scratch. And if they have an opportunity to scratch, they're less likely to escalate because I gave them an appropriate outlet to relieve that mild stress, right? So a lot of cats in areas of tension, they will get more stress. So placing scratchers there and doing what we can to make that area more open with vertical spaces and accessible is going to help. Here's some other examples. This is my partner's office. I have a dog as well. So you're going to see this cupcake, this window perch. This is a heated cat bed. It's a vertical space. I just put it on a bookshelf. This is a dog bed. Here's another heated cat bed. Cat beds, heated cat beds are life, guys. My cats, I only had 2 and I was like, I need to buy 5 because that's some competition. That's a high value resource and I have 5 cats. So I bought 5 heated cat beds. So that's an example of that. So that was a brief introduction of things that we can do to help set our cat up for success. Or if you're with a shelter, helping adopters understand that it's normal for their cats to hide. Let's not force introductions with them. A lot of the things that I tend to consult people with, and thankfully, once I talk to that adopter, not everyone has access to someone like me, but once I talk to that adopter, everyone is okay. And that cat remains in that home and that human animal bond grows. But so commonly, the cat hides and that person who means well doesn't understand cat behavior and they think the cat hates me, when again, this is not about you, but they don't know that. And as you can imagine, that doesn't cause the human animal bond to grow. And in some cases, they can even bring the cat back, right? So it's really important to tell adopters and have people understand normal cat behavior. It's normal for the cat to hide when they first come into a new environment. Like if you drop me in a country where the language I spoke weren't spoken and I didn't have a cell phone, I'm immediately going to be stressed. And again, I'm socialized. Most cats don't go through kitten socialization or kitten kindergarten. So they don't even have a lot of those positive experiences with a variety of environments and different things. So we need to consider this as we're transitioning our kitties into their new home. But I wanted to briefly discuss, because this is a big part of having a cat, right? Introducing your cats to children, to the dog, and other cats in the home. And you're going to notice a pattern with the steps needed for each of these, because a lot of them are very similar. So again, we want to keep in mind that we've already created that safe room. We considered all those things I already discussed. We provided those 5 pillars that with that lovely infographic from that book. We've already worked on all of that. That's already in place. But then we're also going to do these things. So I'm going to start with introducing your cat to children. So it's really important for safety and management is always key first, right? So safety and management might be your cat, again, in their safe place. And as that cat is adapting into that new environment, maybe it's the first day or the second day, I may not have my toddler interact with that cat just yet. Instead, I might, because I want them to be a part of this, I might say, ooh, let's make a toy for the kitty. And I love working with kids and having them make puzzle toys out of like toilet paper rolls, and they color it. And I'm like, color it for your cat. And then they can watch the cat play with it at a distance to start, right? So we can involve the children, and obviously the ages of the child matter in that case. So we can involve the children, but it shouldn't be, this cat just came in your home, here's my 4-year-old pet. That is not a safe interaction. And it can cause stress for both parties, right? So we want to consider safety and management. We want to guide the interaction. So you have to, I don't expect a 5-year-old to be able to assess cat's body language. That's not fair, right? Or even a 10-year-old. So it's really important for you as a parent to guide those interactions and help your children understand what that cat is communicating with their body language, and teach the child how to interact with the cat. Again, I already mentioned, I love starting with activities that with the cat that don't involve touch. Because again, we're setting up that human child learner up for success, which that might be a really long wand toy, because wand toys should be long anyways, because hands and feet aren't toys. So you have a really long wand toy that the child can play with the cat, clicker training, or the child making puzzle toys or some other, there's so many fun DIY puzzle toys that or other toys that your child can make for the cat. And that's such a wonderful way to start off their relationship. So I mentioned safety, but baby gates, vertical spaces. So again, we definitely have their resources easily accessible. So what I mean by that is I don't just have one litter box in the basement and the only way the cat can get there is if they pass a child and another dog and they only have one entrance and exit up and down the stairs. That is not great accessibility to resources. So when I say that, I'm going back to that slide where we're providing scratchers and vertical surfaces and hiding places and escape routes, essentially, right? Because I love my partner, but I need to get away sometimes, and that's healthy and normal. So it's important for us to start, especially with a kid, starting those right away. I have kid zones and cat zones. So one of the safe places might be the cat's room that they originally started in. Sometimes it might be a cat tree, and we teach the child that that's the cat zone. And in the cat zone, we don't interact with the kitty. And sometimes I'll put tape in a circle, like painter's tape or a hula hoop, to kind of have a visual for that child and reward them and kind of say, where don't we touch the kitty? And they might point, I'm speaking for smaller kids, obviously, they might point there. And then I'm like, great job, here's a piece of candy, right? So creating that understanding that there's kid zones and cat zones is very important. And as a parent, just like with dogs, it's really important for us to be observing and supervising any interaction with children and animals. That's just a classic safety thing, of course. Just like you can't close your eyes for 5 minutes with a toddler because they'll be outside or doing something creative that might cause them to be hurt or harmed. So you're always like observant and watching. So we have our resource access. We have those escape routes, cats' resources. As a cat, they like to have entrances and exits for their resources. And when there isn't that, we call it an ambush area. So for example, a closed litter box in a piece of furniture, like where there's those tiny little holes that they walk in, that's an ambush area. There's only one entrance and one exit. And that can be make that cat feel unsafe. But also if there's other animals in the home, that can definitely cause some tension. Even if the other cat's watching from a distance, that can cause a lot of fear and stress for that cat that's going in that box. So when it comes to placing a cat tree or a litter box, ideally, we don't want to have a cat tree and then a dresser here and something here. We want to have some open type area so that cat has that clear entrance and exit, ideally multiple entrances and exits. Again, kid zone, cat zone. Oh, my lovely PowerPoint is, there it goes. See, I just had to say that. And then when it comes to how to interact with the cat, I do this with children a lot. And I say, we squeeze the teddy, not the cat. Because to be fair, I meet adults, understandably, guys, that just want to squeeze and pet cats and dogs. And I understand it. They are precious. I love them. But as you can see, I have a unicorn stuffed animal. I have stuffed animals to squeeze. Most cats and dogs do not like being squeezed by adults or children. So when I'm working with kids and parents, right away, we get a specific, sometimes we'll even get a cat stuffed animal that looks similar to their cat, which the kids really like. And we say, squeeze the teddy, not the cat. So I'm telling that kid to not squeeze the cat, but I'm also providing them with an alternative behavior to be able to do that fun squeezing behavior. We're going to talk to our kids about considerate approach and how to interact with the kitty and watch body language. And then this is a really lovely interaction of two kids clicker trading a cat. Again, that hands off interaction, and it's just beautiful. So they're working on the cat sitting. So when the butt hits the floor, she marks. That's a type of positive reinforcement trainer. She's using a clicker. And I love this because the big sister clicks and the little brother tosses the treat and the big sister is helping him understand when to toss the treat. This is just beautiful. I love it. Such a beautiful interaction with a cat and a kid. And you're teaching them to respect the animal in a fun way by also teaching the cat to sit. This cat is missing a back leg, in case you guys are like, why is the cat walking with an abnormal gait? Oh, I love it. I love it so much. And these are just some lovely infographics that I like to share because I think some of us, again, that squeeze the cat, a lot of cats and dogs don't like to be hugged. And when it comes to dogs, a lot of bites result from kids hugging dogs. And again, that dog feels like so fearful that they have no choice but to bite, and that both parties aren't malicious, but we want to prevent that. So these are just some lovely body language graphics for you to understand some signs that may be showing the cat isn't enjoying that interaction. So this cat's face is very tense. He's averting his gaze. His eyes are wide, his pupils are dilated, and he's actually bracing to try to get away. He's actively trying to increase his distance from this hug. This one is, again, it's very apparent this cat is having some stress. Ears are actually to the side, lots of tension in the face. Those eyes are round. So relaxed eyes are almond shaped, right? So those eyes are round and those pupils are dilated. This cat's muzzle is tense and they're actually vocalizing like, wow, please. From his perspective, he's saying, please let me go. And moving head from the human, averting gaze. And again, he's actively trying to get away. And then this is a dog example. I know this is cats, but I think it's important. Those ears are back, similar tension throughout the face and muzzle. Eyes are wide and dilated. Paw is out because he's attempting to get away. That dog is very, very uncomfortable. And as you can imagine, if you're really uncomfortable and you're showing all these signs to signify you're uncomfortable and the hugging keeps happening, I would understand how a cat or dog might scratch or bite to get the scary thing to stop. So again, it's really important for us to assess and respect our animal's body language and help our kids understand that too. So introducing the cat to the dog. This is my dog my dog Ness and Norman. Your cat and dog may not be this bonded realistically, but we want them to be comfortable in a living space, right? So ideally, the basics are we're going to separate from the start, similar to the kids, right? We're going to guide those interactions. We're going to provide safety and management. So for example, that cat's in that safe place, and then we might have a baby gate at the bottom of the stairs, just as the dog and cat, as we're working on interactions in case the cat gets out, but ideally they want it, but we're planning ahead. We're going to always pay attention to body language for both the cat and the dog and keep it positive, along with meeting the social, physical, and mental needs, provide separate and multiple resources, all those lovely things I've kind of been mentioning throughout the webinar. So again, we're going to keep them separated. Ideally, I like to introduce them one sense at a time. So what I might start with is allow the cat to explore the home without the dog present. So for example, the dog is going out for a walk, or the dog's in the backyard with a frozen Kong. Because again, I care about the dog as well. And the cat can gently explore the house, similar to what we were saying before, maybe just upstairs if they're comfortable, but they can explore the house with the dog without the dog present. And then also vice versa, we may have the cat go, once they're comfortable, a little more comfortable, go into another room, close the door, and allow the dog to explore their area. So that's a small type of scent swapping. And then ideally, we're going to be teaching our dogs some relaxing behaviors without the cat present, because the cat's a really big distraction and dogs like to chase cats. That's a normal behavior. So, and that can cause uncomfortable fear for both parties. So I'm going to teach the dog to go to a mat like this dog, and targeting, which is a nose to target. So the nose touches my finger. It's similar to a recall behavior, because I want to be able, once we have those supervised interactions, I want to be able to say touch or call the dog's name as a way to get them away from the cat, because they may want to chase the cat, but we're working on building up these behaviors without the distractions of the cat first, right? When you learn a new thing, we have to do it with less distractions. And then by the time we're at those visual interactions, we can start to use these exercises in your dog. Then we might play with the door closed. I know this sounds silly, but now we're adding scent and auditory. So it literally might be the cat in their room and someone's on both sides. The dog might be eating a frozen Kong or a licky mat, or maybe even just getting brushed if that's something they enjoy. The cat, the other person's doing something with the cat that they enjoy on that side of the door, which can be, again, just eating off a licky mat or playing with a wand toy. And then we'll go to the next sense, which, as you guys can imagine, is visual, right? So then we're going to work up to visual. We're going to start with a baby gate, or there's so many different types of baby gates. To start, we're going to cover that baby gate with a towel. And based on the animal's comfort levels, both, right? We're going to start at a distance. So they're not going to start here. That's way too close. So we're going to start at a distance with that baby gate. I would most likely have the dog on a harness and a leash. And it's important to remember, we're not confining or restricting. So the goal isn't, you shouldn't be using that leash to hold, and your dog is pulling and lunging and you're holding it taut to kind of pull him away. That is not the goal of the harness and leash. It's for management. But if your dog is reacting that way at the sight of the cat may be ready for that part, but the dog isn't yet. So we have to go back a step. Also, we don't want to do that with the cat. We don't want to put the cat in a carrier or a playpen and allow the dog to come up to it. That is a very stressful thing. The cat should always be able to escape. So again, we don't want to kind of confine or excessively restrict either animal. When we start to provide that visual access, again, we start at a distance. I might start with the dog on a mat similar to this. And she has her harness and leash on. It's loose. She's not horribly stressed. She's licking her licky mat, and she knew a mat behavior. And the cat is kind of exploring the house on their own accord. At first, that cat might just want to watch the dog, and that's okay. And we're going to give that cat treats when they look at the dog. And then the dog is also going to get treats, or a long-lasting treat is a helpful thing, because that dog's getting reinforced for staying on that mat, but it's something good and delicious. We're going to also reinforce for showing calm and relaxed behavior. So again, if my dog just looks at the cat or sits or lays down or even looks away from the cat, I am going to reinforce that. Hey, that was such a good choice. I love that. And if your cat or your dog are showing lots of signs of stress, then we need to go back a step, because both animals need to be comfortable. Interactions should be short and end on a positive note. And then we would work up to supervised interactions, right? And that is, we still have management in place. Again, like I might have a baby gate at the bottom of the stairs. I'm going to have my dog on a harness and leash. I'm going to have the mat out. I'm going to have treats and be supervising. But now that baby gate's more just to kind of provide that cat with some safe places, but it's not similar to the visual access exercise. And introducing cat to cats, it's very similar to introducing dog to cat, or even in some cases, cat to kid. So we're going to separate, guide the interactions, safety and management guys always. We're going to pay attention to their body language and keep it positive. So this is from one of my handouts that I use when I'm dealing with some inner cat aggression. So ideally, this is preventative. So these steps are going to go a lot faster. As you can imagine, if there's some trauma or negative associations, we're going to have to break that down a lot more. And you're going to most likely have to work with someone like myself, a behavior consultant, because that's a lot more complex. But when we're just setting them up for success and going at these steps at their level, these things tend to go faster, as you can imagine. So you can see you want to make sure the cat is below threshold or the dog. So what I mean by that is they're eager to eat and stay in front of you. Their body language is fairly relaxed. They're not running away versus they're not eating, they're scratching or doing other displacement behaviors. They might be exhibiting negative, like fearful body language, like crouching to the floor or wanting to leave. If we're seeing signs like that, that means we went to the next step too soon. We need to see signs like this, or we basically, what I say is we keep them below threshold, which means minimal to no signs of stress for both animals. Again, very similar to dogs, we're going to do one sense at a time. So we're going to do scent swapping. I scent swap a little different than sometimes I see done. I'm not a big fan of taking a brush and then brushing the other cat, because that's kind of flooding, which is exposing them to something full force that they might be afraid of. The smell of another cat is from a cat's perspective, is essentially another cat being right there. So instead, I like to have my clients gather the scent. So as your cat's rubbing, exhibiting positive body language, you rub them with maybe a small towel a few times a day, and you put that in a Ziploc bag. And then now we have a concentrated scent that you don't smell, but guys, the other cat does. And then what you do is you place that in the middle of the floor and pair it with treats and food and allow the cat to explore it on their own. So we're pairing that scent of the other cat with good stuff, right? Then we work on door play, which is very similar to the dog exercise. So there's another cat in that room, and the client is playing with the cat outside the door. She has treats to reinforce forward movement toward the door, but play is also really reinforcing. Again, like good things happen. You can hear the other cat. You can smell the other cat. This is awesome. And the other cat is kind of playing with, because there's a toy under this door that you can't really see, and that cat's focused on that. Body language is positive. So since everything's looking good there, we're going to go to visual access, which might look something like this. And again, I commonly see people do right here. I think that that's way too close to start, just on either side. And since this is more preventative, you'll probably be able to get there quicker, but we should be starting at a few feet away. Both cats should be comfortable. And as you can see here, this is my client's creative baby gate. See, there's so many fun things. This cat is actively eating churro, and this cat's actively eating churro. And you can see the cat, this is a inner cat aggression case. So this isn't a preventative thing, but this cat stopped to check that cat out and then continue eating. This was a really huge step for him. And we slowly move them closer and closer, but starting right here, that's a little too much in most cases. I understand that the cat's eating, but they feel really, we need to look at their body language too. Because I see a lot of people, because they try that step and they were actually flooding the cats. They were exposing them to what they were afraid of full force. They were showing signs of conflict, but they were missed. And now the cat has negative feelings about the other cat. So it's really important to start at a place where both of them are showing minimal to no signs and then going up. Then we would go to supervised interaction, which is very similar to the dog, where we're observing. We have enough access to resources. We have various and multiple resources throughout the house. And then integration, them living their best lives together. So when it comes to introductions, because again, that was kind of a brief review, but some really good points for you to consider. And thankfully, when it's preventative, if people tend to do these steps, things tend to go really well, which is great. What we don't want to do is force an introduction, no matter who tells you. For example, let's say you have a dog at home and you just adopted a cat and you did the safe place transitioning, and then you just let them go. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not going to just let the cat, we're going to see how it goes. That is just asking for trouble. And a few weeks or even months of appropriate work can last for a lifetime. Like I had my cats before I had my dog. My dog's like 12 or 13. I don't like to think about how old she is. She's a senior. And literally my cats and dogs sleep like they are bonded. And I think lots of things affect that, but a big part of it was I introduced them appropriately from the start. So again, that few months of work resulted in a lifelong, beautiful bond. So we're never going to just throw them together. We're never going to force an introduction. So if you have a dog or another cat, you're not going to hold a cat and say, look, that's kind of forcing, or the carrier, like the cat's just in the carrier and the other cat. Those are forced introductions. That can cause a lot of fear and stress. We're not going to use punishment. If my dog, for example, let's say the dog growls at the cat at a distance, I am not going to punish that. That dog is communicating that they are uncomfortable and we need to listen. We need to back it up and probably work with a professional behavior consultant at that point. It's really important to provide multiple and separated key environmental resources. I just keep saying it, but it's so important. And meet those physical and mental needs. So again, this is a bigger photo of my partner's office. That's another resting spot. And this is different day. So Malt's in the heated cat bed, Ness is on her bed. I have a box there because again, we just add and take away sometimes. Puzzle toys, predatory outlets, all of those are key in all of these introductions. So a lovely recap, we want to do a gradual introduction and go at each animal's pace. We want to understand and observe their body language. When it comes to setting up new items, this is just another thing. We want to plan ahead to where you might want your cats or dogs bedding, feeding stations, and start gradually introducing them around the home versus changing everything at once, because that can be stressful for your resident cats or your resident dog, right? So let's say you're so excited because you're the best animal caregiver ever, and you bought more stuff than you needed. But again, you were coming from an awesome place and you're like, I'm going to add this scratcher and this cat tree and this and this. That's a huge change. So to gradually start to introduce those new things. So by the time you're doing the visual access and the supervised interactions, those resources are already established in the home versus bringing them all out a day or two at the same time is going to help all the animals in your home transition. It's crucial to watch their body language. As I mentioned, if we're noticing signs of fear and stress, we're going to increase the distance between the animals and go to the last successful step in the next session. So kind of how I broke those steps down. And then also work with a certified behavior professional. They should be a positive reinforcement trainer and have credentials of some sort, because unfortunately, training is not regulated. So thankfully, there's credentials and there's ways that you can seek out positive reinforcement science-based behavior professionals. But I have so many amazing clients reach out to me because they're adopting a cat and they have a dog, or they're adopting a cat and they have a cat. And it's only a few sessions because they're being preventative. They're being preventative versus, again, I love my inner cat aggression cases and some of the more severe aggression cases I deal with. But in some of those cases, if they were introduced appropriately, that wouldn't be the case. And although we can still help, that's a lot more work, right? And we want our animals and us to be less stressed and just overall happier. So starting your relationship with your cat is fun, exciting, and quite the adventure, but be prepared, set them up for success, and enjoy your feline friend. What a wonderful photo to end on. I love this kitten. And this is a little bit about me. If you are curious, I have social media, a podcast, and my website, Chirps and Chatter. Thank you so much for joining me on tips and tricks on how to help your cat transition into your new home. You're awesome for wanting to learn how to do better by your cat. So I want to reinforce all of you. Awesome job. And then I think